Welcome to the Holistic Human Design channel. Today, we're going to talk about the new moon in Aquarius that is happening on January 29th at 6:35 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is all happening at 9 degrees of Aquarius. And this new moon is really powerful. It is really big for a lot of reasons that we are obviously going to get into here. I really try not to consume much information around new moons until I have done my own work into it, until I've sat with it, until I've explored it myself. But today there was a new moon call, one of the ones that I never miss. And it was before I came here to record. So I do have some input that I took from that, which I find to be so fascinating. So we'll just start, just everybody take just a moment to drop into your heart and whatever that looks like for you. Just take a deep breath and let it all out of your mouth. Just let your shoulders go. Just be here. First thing is identifying where in your chart Aquarius is, what house it is, what planets you have there, and then depending on where you're at in your journey, any aspects that are significant that this new moon would impact. Again, it is at 9 degrees of Aquarius, and anyone in the beginning phase of Aquarius right now is really being slammed by Pluto. So you're probably feeling it a little bit intensely. But we'll start with Aquarius is a fixed air sign. And all air signs have to do with the mind, with intellectualizing. They are social. It is a fixed sign, so it has a lot of opinions. It's fixed in the way that it views things. And Aquarius was one of those signs in the beginning of my exploration of astrology, in the beginning of my understanding. I just never quite understood. And I think that that's part of the Aquarius archetype, right? Aquarius is, again, of the mind. Aquarius is intellectual. Aquarius is logical. When we look at the moon and Aquarius doesn't necessarily sit and feel its emotions. And I think the big reason why is because Aquarius also does things differently. And the reason that Aquarius does things differently is because it's been so deeply embedded in the system that it understands what doesn't work. And so it breaks free. It comes on the outside, and now it can help rebuild it from this different perspective. Well, Aquarius also has the archetype, I guess, or the label of being a little bit of a weirdo. And when you think about any hugely successful person with a product that made zero sense on the market in the beginning, everybody thought they were weird, they were going to fail. And that's sort of like that Aquarius energy. You have to believe in yourself. Aquarius sees a problem, it creates a solution that isn't the norm. And because it's sort of on the outside, it's got that little rebellious nature, it's got that little independence, freedom. It's just that innovative. It's very different. Rules technology, right? The 11th house rules technology, groups, community, things like that. It's a humanitarian. It has to stay strong within its system to move forward through those changes. So Aquarius being an air sign makes sense, because if Aquarius was, I love all of you water signs out there, but if Aquarius was a water sign, it might be a little bit hard to face the criticism, to face the judgments that come with being a little different, right? So Aquarius has to kind of guard itself a little bit. Now, I was on this new moon call, and one of the big things we're going to get into in a minute, but one of the big things that's happening right now is that Pluto is at 1 degrees of Aquarius and it's conjunct Mercury. So there's a stellium happening within Aquarius with Pluto, Mercury, the sun, and the moon. So this is so much about our minds, right? And because it is technology, it is social, right? Social media, things like that. There's so much going on. Again, Aquarius is of the mind. It's a fixed sign. So it's fixed in the way that it's thinking. And so there's a lot going on mentally right now. We're seeing a lot of things. We're holding a lot of opinions, maybe judgments. So it's really time to look in and see what do we need to release, and what do we need to embrace. And that was a big theme of this call, was releasing the energy and the things and the thoughts that don't serve you. And what I found fascinating, there's a podcast that I started listening to immediately after I got off this call called the telepathy tapes. So I don't know if you've heard about it. Fascinating. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because of course, like Aquarius of the mind, it's innovative, it's different. Telepathy could be housed in there, but its ruler, so Saturn and Uranus both rule Aquarius, but its ruler right now is sitting in Pisces, right? This is spiritual, this is insight, this is psychicness, right? Telepathy, it's all housed within there. So the ruler of Aquarius is currently sitting in this energy. And I believe it's trying to Mars. And so Mars is bringing this, Mars is retrograde in Cancer right now, right? So this is like of the home. These are our inner world. These are issues that we're experiencing internally. It's faced inwards. But what I found fascinating was the conversation around telepathy, and part of these files, these telepathy files, is that nonverbal autistic children are being said to be able to read their parents' minds. And so I'm literally about 3/4 of the way through the first episode. So I don't know the whole scope of it. But what I found fascinating is that in human design, there's this 2027 prophecy. Things are changing. Children that are coming in the world are different. And part of this prophecy has to do with A, the emotional experience, and B, autistic children. Because they may appear nonverbal, but their consciousness is actually really expanded to the point where they can read minds. They can non-verbally communicate. It's almost like they don't need to. So they get overstimulated in this environment where we're so busy and there's electronics and we're all these things. And even when you look at the idea of, there's another theory in human design where we went from being, so those arrows over your head, the variables, we went from being all right? You think about like Lumeria, or even like, I don't know, before like caveman times, where we were all right. My right, you're right. We're all right brained. And this really means that community looks a little bit different. We're very passive, we're receptive, we're open to these sorts of things. Then we moved into this logic left brain society, right? Where it's logic based. We have to have structure, we have to understand, we're building systems and all these different things, right? And now we're starting to move back towards this right-brained society, which makes sense and it aligns so strongly with this age of Aquarius, where we are moving back towards being able to have these gifts that we all have innately, but we're tapping into them more strongly. We're seeing what doesn't work, right? That was sort of this Pluto and Capricorn. We're seeing what doesn't work, and now we're giving this opportunity to rebuild and create new communities and new spaces in the way that we interact with each other. And I've really been diving into this rightness, as they call it in human design. And it's about taking in information so deeply that you might not consciously be aware of the amount of stuff that you've taken in, as if you have those right arrows, right? And Ra, the man who downloaded the system, he talks about right-brained beings as being like oracles. And I absolutely love this analogy, because an oracle has a depth of information, but it requires a question. It requires somebody outside, somebody external, to pull the information from the oracle. The oracle doesn't go up to you and tell you, like, it doesn't focus, right? It's not that left brain, it doesn't focus on you and focus on one thing. You have to pull it out of it. And that's what the right brain is, right? The information is to be drawn from us. So all that, I just found it so fascinating that these telepathy files sort of align with what human design is speaking to in this 2027 shift. But back to the new moon. So new moons are really times to set intentions, right? During the full moon, it's a time to release. So we're creating, between the full moon and the new moon, we're really releasing the things that aren't serving us. We're seeing what doesn't work, we're shedding, we're letting it go, so that now the time between the new moon and the full moon, we can really fill that up, right? We're setting intentions, we're filling that space with things that will serve us. And so I'm going to share my screen, and every time I record and share my screen, it just never, I don't know, okay, maybe you can see me, maybe you can't. But anyway, so this is the chart for the new moon. So we see all this going on right here. in Aquarius, right? The sun, the moon, Mercury, and Pluto. So again, this is all that buildup in Aquarius. Now we have Saturn, which is the Aquarius's ruler, is in Pisces, and there's another buildup in Pisces, right? The North Node, Neptune, Venus. This is all super like dreamy qualities. It really has to do with our spirituality. It has to do with our relationships. Of course, with the North Node newly in there, this is our purpose, this is our direction. It has to do with our health. It's our mind-gut connection. Like this is so potent. And then Saturn is there at 17 degrees. And Saturn is asking for boundaries. Saturn is asking for some structures to be put in place. I like to think about like, what do you call them? Like spiritual based businesses, right? Where we want to be super receptive and super open and super fluid, which is so beautiful. But there also needs to be some structure. There's also needs to be some action. There also needs to be that sort of like back end stuff that we need those boundaries in order to like really lean into that. So that's all the stuff that's happening in Pisces, and that because of that, that's that, you know, Saturn in Pisces. And then the other ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus, is right here in Taurus. And now on the 30th, Uranus is going to station direct. So Uranus is currently retrograde. Uranus is unpredictable. It is innovation. It is freedom. It is also the planet that holds the energy of anxiety. So this is always going to bring a little bit of unpredictability, right? Into like the fold, because that's just the energy of Uranus. Now, when we look at Saturn again, Saturn is trine to Mars over here. So again, it is that introspective energy when it comes to our inner world, our home life, things like that. And I love this Luna astrology because it allows me to talk about things and show you and separate. And the last thing here is this is all trine Jupiter. Jupiter in Gemini. And this is another air sign, right? So again, this is really amplifying the mind. And Gemini rules the third house. Gemini is a mutable air sign. It rules the third house. It is all about communication. It is, of course, of the mind. It is social media. So we're amplifying whatever energy is coming in right now. So whatever energy you're pulling up from all of this stellium right here, Jupiter is here to harmoniously, because a trine is a harmonious aspect, it's harmoniously amplifying the energy of what's being held here. So I think a good question or observation or journaling prompt is to notice what your mind is focusing on. So during this new moon call earlier too, she had mentioned being like obsessed with social media lately. And that's that Pluto, right? Is that obsessive, intense sort of energy. And I have noticed, because I have the timer on my Instagram, and there have been many nights where I just ignore until tomorrow, where I know I'm scrolling way too much, but it is that sort of like that energy that's coming with that. And the last thing that I'll say about this moon here is that this is all happening in gate 19. And gate 19, okay, so this is gate 19 right here in the root center. And gate 19 is the gate of wanting. This is the pressure. So all three of these gates are really powerful in that they're putting pressure on the emotional experience in some way. So this is pressure to have an emotional experience, right? Gate 19, the gate of wanting. So when it comes to this, the shadow is codependence, which of course I think we can all relate to in some way, right? That codependent energy. The gift here is sensitivities, right? We are being sensitive to the emotional experience that is held within this gate. And the city, the highest expression of this, is in sacrifice. So where are we at the moment being codependent, possibly with social media, right? And especially, I think, with Saturn, its ruler in Pisces, this is all about escapism, right? That's what Pisces holds the energy of. Addiction, codependence, losing ourselves in another being. So asking yourself, where are you being codependent right now? Where are you not nurturing yourself? Where are you not filling your cup, but filling somebody else's cup? Because remember, once we fill our cup, it can overflow and fill the cups of others. This is the energy of this gate, and this is what we're wanting to move more into, that sensitivity energy, but not so sensitive that we're codependent, right? We want to nurture ourselves, be sensitive to the emotional experience, because that's the thing. Aquarius isn't necessarily emotional in that respect, right? This is initiating, again, these three gates here are like, are pulling pressure, initiating that emotional experience. So it's an opportunity to change, right? I think all new moons are an opportunity to change in different ways. But this one has a lot of opportunities for us. There's a lot of opportunity held within this new moon. And so really sitting with it, really doing the work, journaling what's coming up, especially around your mind. Are you obsessively thinking about things? Are you finding inspiration? Or are you finding downloads? What is happening in your mind right now? Really paying attention to that, filling it with things that you want to experience, right? How do we want to think? How do we want to perceive? Because your life is a result of your perception. I had a moment yesterday morning where I woke up and there was a specific person that sent me a message. And my go to was like, oh, they're always so negative. And then I had to sort of catch myself and think that, we want to change the world. We want to change people in our lives. It really starts with ourselves. And I had to ask myself, why am I judging them and pigeonholing them into this area, right? This, whatever it is, I'm putting this label on them in my life. Unless I change that, they're never going to change that label. They're never going to change from my lens who they are. And I think that when we're doing the work and we're really working to change the way we feel and to change the way that we view things, we're rewiring our subconscious beliefs and all those things. When we're doing that, we begin to see things differently, which then gives people an opportunity to change and show us who they are. And people will fall away or they will get on board. More often than not, when you are leading by example, it piques their curiosity a little bit. So I think this new moon is a great time to like notice those thoughts, notice what's going on, and really lean into changing those fixed, preconceived judgments, opinions, ideas that we may have. And I, as a Taurus sun and Leo moon and Leo rising, I am so fixed. So it's always being very intentional about coming to things with curiosity. So I thank you for watching, for being here. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get all of my videos that come out. Let me know in the comments what you're letting go of, what you're calling in, what sort of mental narratives, thought patterns, loops that you're feeling very fixed on right now, and how you're going to be working to release them.